Today I am talking about prosperity, and I'm calling it Prosperity 101. It is the first in our series this month. Every month, we're doing a different value of Centers for Spiritual Living. And this month is financial health and prosperity. Yes, isn't that something? How many can use a little bit more prosperity, financial health? All right, this is a topic then that pertains for all of us. We teach what we want to learn. So I'm excited to teach this month. We express order and balance in our finances and experience optimal financial well-being. Does that sound good for everyone? Right? To experience optimal financial well-being. Through the richness of our teaching and its application, we value the principle of abundance and its expression as prosperity, as a means to provide resources to empower our personal and collective vision. So that is the value for the month. That's what we're going to be talking about. But I want to review a little bit what we talked about last month, because it does flow into what we'll be talking about for the next 4 weeks. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We spent a lot of time on it last month. The way it works, Maslow was a psychologist who put together several different theories about psychology. And this pyramid represents those ideas. At the bottom of the pyramid is our physiological needs. What that means is our need for food and shelter and water and clean air. All of those things are very obvious that we need as human beings. Yes, you agree?
Yeah.
That is the foundation of everything. You realize how important those things are when you don't get it. Right? When you're hungry, anybody else get hangry? Or you're overly tired. I'm honestly a little tired this morning. It was a big weekend. I'll tell you about that as I talk. So those things are very important to us. It's the foundation. From there, we go into the need for security and safety. Whereas you may have shelter over your head, maybe you're sleeping on someone else's couch. That's not really security. You want to have your own feeling that I can take care of myself and I can do for myself. And then as that need is met, we move on to the higher needs of love and belonging and feeling like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And the need for self-esteem and wanting knowledge and understanding and beautiful things and to feel like we can be all we can be. So the paradox of all of this is that as you go for that thing, security, for example, that was what we were talking about last month. If you make that your end goal, to feel secure, financially secure and safe, you push it further and further away from you. The idea is that we want to go to the top of the pyramid, to that place that is called transcendence. Now, we had our TEDx Ocala yesterday, and I had the great blessing of being the MC at that event. It was phenomenal. We have a TEDx speaker right here, Gail. Yes, give her a round of applause. She was phenomenal. She got up on that stage, and people just fall in love with her wherever she goes. And so she had quite a large audience to spread her sparkly, happy pixie dust that she does, make people feel comfortable and welcome and very happy. Anyway, the first speaker yesterday, his talk was actually about transcendence. It was. He talked about, he was a professional musician, a violinist with self-esteem issues, and he talked about how difficult it was for a 25-year career. Before the light bulb, he had that light bulb moment where he would get like physically sick, and he worried so much about hitting all the right notes as he played his music. Then he had an aha moment, an epiphany, through the story of Gandhi. He learned that Gandhi, actually, you all know, do you know that Gandhi was an attorney? He was actually a lawyer. Yes, he was a lawyer before he became this leader that led India to their independence. He was an attorney, and as it turns out, he was a pretty terrible attorney. He used to get worked up, for his first 2 trials. In fact, I understand that for the second one, he ran out and said he couldn't handle this, gave it to his partner, and asked somebody else to cover for him, and then offered the money back to his client, because he would get just that worked up, just like the gentleman I'm telling you about, the musician. But what happened for Gandhi and what happened for this gentleman who spoke was that they started to see their lives in a larger context. when you realize, or when the independence of an entire nation of people, we're talking millions and millions of people, right, was a vision that Gandhi had. When he could hold to that vision, he suddenly had the strength and the power and what he needed, the confidence to be able to lead this movement. Because he made it about something bigger. It was a bigger cause. It wasn't just about him and his ego anymore. So this musician said he now, when he goes out and he plays, and he's got his solo to play, he's thinking about what it's going to do for the audience. What is the feeling he wants people to walk away from as he performs? And then it becomes a labor of love. It's about having people feeling joy and connection and love in that moment. And then the music just flows. Then it doesn't matter if you miss a note, if you make a mistake, if you slip up, you don't say exactly the right thing, because it's about something bigger than you. And people sense that. They feel that. So that is the idea of transcendence. It's that we're here to get beyond our own ego, to get beyond our little selves, and tap into that. Why am I really here? You know, what is my purpose in this world? And when you start living from that purpose, from that place of transcendence, all the other stuff will come to you. Right? The Bible says it this way: seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Right? Seek that kingdom of God, of love, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Some people don't like that language. But for me, that's what that says. When you put your sights, you set it in the right place, then all those other things that you want will come to you. There will be the byproduct. Wayne Dyer said it this way: when I chased after money, I never had enough. When I got my life on purpose and focused on giving of myself and everything that came into my life, then I was prosperous. So that's how these pieces connect, and talking about security. But really what we are wanting to do is to feel prosperous. And so what is that? Prosperity is actually a state of mind. How many of you thought prosperity was about money? About having a lot of money in the bank? Anybody? Yeah, it's not really about that. It's not really about that. Prosperity is a state of mind that carries over into every area of living. Your health, your wealth, your happiness, and your companionship. The person who has this feeling of prosperity has a feeling that life is working for him and not against him. Found a little quote in here from the same people who wrote that, who authored that quote. Start now to develop a true prosperity consciousness, and you will not only reap a rich harvest in your outer experience, but with it will come a still greater blessing, a sense of security which no one can ever take from you. Your security is an inner condition that does not depend upon outer circumstance. You see, when you're really prosperous, when you are truly a prosperous person, you can lose your fortune. You could lose it over and over again, and it wouldn't matter, because you know that it would come back. You will know that you always have what you need when you need it. And that's what it means to be prosperous. For me to be prosperous, it means that I can do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it with. Right? Isn't that simple? The ability to do what you want, when you want to do it, with the people you want to do it with. That's what it means to be prosperous. You might not have a dime in your pocket, but if you're hanging out with people you love, and you can have a good time, and you know that you're taken care of, then you are taken care of. You are prosperous. It has nothing to do with the financial, with what you've got in your pocket. Eric Butterworth says it like this: prosperity is not just having things, it is the consciousness that attracts those things. Prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just having money or things. I'm going to say that again. Prosperity is a way of living and thinking. It's not just about money or things.
Amen.
Poverty as well, thank you, Gail. Poverty as well is a way of living and thinking, and not just a lack of money or things. That's right. As I was researching for this talk, I came across stories of several people, very interesting stories. Some of names that you might know, and a couple that you won't, but let me tell you one of them. You will know this name, Howard Hughes. How many of you know who Howard Hughes was? Okay, so you know Howard Hughes he was a business tycoon. He was an investor, an aviator. There's been movies and things made about him. Well, he suffered from an obsessive compulsive disorder, apparently in chronic pain. Let's see. He became dependent on prescription drugs eventually. And despite all of his success and fame and staggering wealth, that was the quotation they said in the article, he died a recluse and was so unrecognizable when he passed that he had to be identified by his fingerprints. Wow. So for all of his money, that was not prosperity. That was not prosperity. There's another family. Have you heard of the Astor family? Yes. These folks were around during, I think there was one of them on the Titanic. Right? The Astor family. So one of these guys, let me see, Brooke Astor was the one who apparently inherited quite a bit of that family's fortune. Well, her son was not too happy with how he was raised, so he didn't provide for her. He allegedly allowed his mother to live in squalor, siphoning off her fortune. In 2009, he was convicted of the crime and sentenced a year to 3 years. He was sentenced to a year to 3. I'm not sure how much of that he served. He ended up going to prison, this guy, at the age of 89. Wow. Right? We're talking one of the blue bloods, American blue bloods, the kind of money that most of us can only dream about. And yet he allowed his mother, he mistreated his mother because of how he was raised and did time in prison. How about this one, Charles Schwab? You all heard that name? Yes, he was a steel magnate. This guy spent most of his fortune, which was estimated at the time to be $25 to $40 million, about $800 million when you add in inflation, like what that would be today, $800 million. He lost all of his money in the stock market crash. His home was seized at the time of his death. He was in debt, and his holdings were worthless. Another one. Then you got, you're just run-of-the-mill, average people, maybe a neighbor. You never know who you're talking to. North Miami woman. This was a headline. Living in a rubble-strewn cottage, starved to death. North Miami woman starved to death. When they found her, her home was cluttered with debris and garbage. They found a handbag, though, that was stuffed with $20,000 bills, stocks, bonds, securities, with a total current market value of $80,000. Yet she starved to death because she wasn't willing to use the money she had. Wow. Again, not prosperity. And here, I'll give you one more. A New York woman who died in a fire-damaged apartment. She dined on hot dogs, mainly. Died of malnutrition, though she had $275,000 under her bed and another $250,000 in the bank. Wow. So how much money does it take to feel secure? None. Exactly. It's an inside job. It's an inside job. The world will tell you otherwise. The world will tell you otherwise, but we are here to be transformed, aren't we? Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Right? Yes. Yes, change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. And there are a couple of teachings that we have here that will help you to do that. James Allen. He wrote a book called As a Man Thinketh, which is also another Bible quote. As a man thinketh, that's how he is. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So we think. What we think about, we bring about. Through his thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. It is an inside job. It doesn't matter what is going on outside of you. It doesn't matter what it says in your bank account. It doesn't matter what your parents told you or what society tells you. You get to decide. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. And if your life is not what you would want it to be in this moment, you can change that. Because how you have ended up, you ended up here by the thoughts you have had in the past. You can go someplace else from here. You get to decide that. You get to decide. So what is it? How do we do that? What's the how-to? What's the how-to? What can we tap into? Well, there are some universal laws, and that's what we teach at Centers for Spiritual Living and other New Thought communities. That there are spiritual laws just like there are physical laws in the universe. Throw out one of a physical law for the universe. Gravity. Gravity is a great one. Great. So what makes something a law is that it is true, that it's repeatable, and that it's always true. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Gravity is what it is. You don't have to believe in gravity. You're still under the influence of it. Yes. Right? You can think, I'm going to defy gravity, and I'm going to use all of my mental powers and jump off of a rooftop. What's going to happen to you? You're going to go splat. You're going to go splat. I don't care how spiritual you are, how not spiritual you are. Gravity is gravity, like it or not. Okay, it works. It is universal. That means it seems to appear and apply everywhere in the universe. Of course, we're only here, so we don't know what's happening, in other realms. But this is what seems to be, that it is a universal, that it applies everywhere. And it's simple. It's a very simple thing. We can understand these things. It is absolute. It is unaffected by circumstance. So law of electricity, it always existed, right? But as human beings, we didn't always know it was there. Now, does the light switch care if you're black, if you're white, if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're rich or you're poor? Right? You just flip the switch and it works. Ha! How about that? It works, and it doesn't matter the circumstance. See, this is what it is when we're dealing with spiritual law. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, what you think, what you look like. When you understand how it works, you can use it. Yes, it works when you work it, doesn't it, Estridge? It is omnipotent. That means everything in the universe must comply with that. And finally, it's constant. It is unchanging. So we know there are physical laws in the universe where we can apply all of these. There are spiritual laws as well that are also true, universal, simple, absolute, omnipotent, and constant. Now, the law that applies to what we're talking about this month, to circulation, I gave it away, to prosperity, is what we call the law of circulation. I believe it was Emerson that called it the law of life. If you want to understand this thing of prosperity and how do you get more of the stuff that you want and how do you live from that place of security and joy and having a great life, it comes from this principle. It is the law of life. It is circulation. Now, circulation exists. It's one of those things that in the physical realm is just one of the things that is part of life on earth. Everything circulates. Energy is in motion constantly. What happens when you take a pool of water and it's no longer circulating? It becomes stagnant. It becomes stagnant and nasty, yucky. It needs to be in motion. We are constantly in motion ourselves. You breathe in, you breathe out. You breathe in, you breathe out. Hold your breath for a little bit. Let's see how long you can do that. Not for long, right? Not for long. Your body will make you take another breath. Circulation has to happen. You have a circulatory system in your body. What happens if that system gets clogged up? Lights out. Lights out. Yeah, you get a clog in one of those arteries, a major part of that circulatory system, and it's done. So understand that this applies to your life in every realm, this law of circulation. Things need to stay in motion. But there's another way that we call this law of circulation. You all heard that? What goes around comes around. How else do we say these things?
Karma.
Karma. We say karma. How about you get what you give? Anybody heard that one? What's that? Insanity. What goes around comes around. What's that? You reap what you sow. That's the big one, right? You reap what you sow. All of these little sayings are part of the fabric of our lives. But we don't think about it necessarily in that idea of circulation. Things have to keep moving. They have to keep moving. If you stop that flow, then you're doing damage to yourself. You're doing damage to yourself, physically, emotionally, spiritually. What goes around comes around. Now, many people, especially when we're talking about money, are looking to get something for nothing. Right? How much can I get for the least investment? The biggest bang for my buck. But here's the thing. Would you ever sit in front of a fireplace and say, okay, now give me a little heat, and then I'll put some wood in? That doesn't happen. Yet that's what people are doing when they're expecting something for nothing. It's like sitting in front of that wood stove and say, okay, now you give me a little heat first, and then I'll give you a little something. I'll put some wood in there. No, you have to give. You have to put the wood in the stove first, and then it gives you the heat. So it is the giving that initiates, that activates the receiving. You have got to give. You've got to put something out there before you can receive. Catherine Ponder said it like this: if you want greater prosperity in your life, start creating a vacuum to receive it. So I want to have a new wardrobe because I'm dropping some weight and now it's starting to come fast. So how do I get new clothes? Raid my closet, take out all the stuff I don't want to wear anymore and give it away. Give it away. Create the space for something new to come in. Whatever it is that you want to give, or whatever it is that you want to receive in your life, maybe it's friendship. What does that require?
I did it with husband.
Yeah. I'll let that pass. You want friendship, you give friendship. So the big thing is, if you want money, you want more of that green stuff, you want to have a little more that helps you feel a little bit more secure, what are you to do? Give some of it away. Give some seed money. That's what we call it, right? You plant those seeds, sow the seed, so that you can then reap the benefits of it. And this universe is so amazing that as we give a little, we get a whole lot more back. Right? Think about a seed. When you plant a seed, how many apple trees are there in a single apple seed? Potential. How many potential trees are there? Yeah, you can't even count it. Think about it. So you put a seed in the ground, it creates one tree, but from that tree, you keep getting apples, and all of those apples have seeds in them, and those seeds can go on to create more. So we sow a little bit, and we get a lot back. That's what this idea is. And everything starts in mind. Everything starts in mind. Oh, I feel like I went too fast, because that's our affirmation. Is there questions? I don't usually do that, but any questions, anything? Anyone want to say anything about this? Does it make sense for you?
Yes.
Yes. So we give what we want to receive. And as we give, we are blessed. I'm going to back it up because there is something else I want to say about that. Because there does seem to be a magical number when it comes to our finance in particular. There is this concept that is called tithing. How many of you are familiar with tithing? Yes. Okay. Most everybody's familiar with tithing. So the idea behind tithing is that we give 10% of whatever comes in to our home from our finances. This is for financial abundance. And if your financial health is, you would like to shore up your financial health, you would like to see a little more green in your pocket, what is the answer to that? It is to give. And tithing in particular, tithing is 10%. So the idea is that we tithe to the place where we are spiritually nourished. I hope that place is here for most of you, but if it's not, you know, by all means, give to the place that opens your heart, that feeds your soul, that makes you feel like you're making a difference. And it does work. It does work. Raise your hand if you have done this practice of tithing.
Over and over.
Yes, over and over.
We talked about Edwin and tithing to the waitress.
Here, you tell this story.
One of the great prosperity leaders, Edwin Gaines, tells a story. Well, she talks about tithing. That's basically mostly what she talks about. But she says tithe to places. You don't have to give everything to one place. But if I tithe 10% here, that's good. But then if I go to a restaurant and I particularly like, or that waitress has been really good, you give her a portion of your tithe. You can divide your tithe up and give portions of it here and there. But know that your tithe is what you want to do with it. And then give beyond that, because that's the seed that keeps growing.
We have a lot of tithers in here.
So one of the things that I recognized that Michael Beckwith said was that if you want to get a certain amount, you tithe on that amount, which takes a huge leap of faith. But we had started doing that when we first started coming here. We were like, okay, and we did Prosperity Plus. We said, okay, if we want 20,000, then that's what we're going to tithe on. And you know what? It really worked. And half the time you're like, okay, and it's so nerve-wracking because you can see the bills piling up and you get those phone calls, but somehow it works itself out.
Yes. It takes that stepping out in faith. It really does. Tithing works. I think for one of the reasons that it does is because it gives you that sense of peace that you have done everything you need to do. Right? I'm doing my part to keep things in circulation in my life. And because I'm doing that, I have everything I need when I need it. Right? I have that sense about things that I always have what I need when I need it, because I know that I give. I know that I give regularly. We give from this center, as a center, whatever money, whatever contributions we receive here, we tithe 10% of that. And 3/4 of that tithe goes to home office, and then the other quarter goes to whatever thing we feel like as a board that we designate we want to give to. And we keep that money, we keep it in circulation. Right? Because when we start to feel like I don't have enough, our impulse is to constrict. And what are we doing to the flow when we constrict? We're stopping it. We're stopping it. So when you feel yourself getting that uptight and you're in that place of something's got to give, guess who it is? You got to give. You got to give. You have something you want to say? Sure.
I had a friend come to me a few months ago, and he was kind of on the streets, and he came over and he goes, hey, you have a tent? I said, yeah, I do have a tent, but I have a couch right here. And one of the best moves I ever made, I got injured back in August. Luckily, he was there, and he has taken up every bit of the lack that I'm in currently because of the injury. And it doesn't have to be money. You know, just creating a space for someone, it could be anything. Just helping the community in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be money. It can be just a support system, or, you know, hanging around friends and talking and giving that extra time that, hey, you know, I got a schedule, I really got to be gone, but, you know, I need to take this extra moment to talk. So I just want to let that out there.
It's so true. So we can tithe of our time, we can tithe of our talents, we can tithe of our treasure. And if you want your life to really work, give of all three. Right? Give of your time and even more, and even more. And that is the thing that brings you to the top of that pyramid, that self-transcending place, because your life is about more than just you. And the universe then makes sure that you have everything you need to do what it is you came here to do, because you're living your purpose. Right? It's about what you can give. We make a life, what is it? We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Right? So give. I would love for you to give to Oakbrook financially, if that's it. I would love that. That would make me very happy. And that would allow us to continue what we do and to expand even beyond what we do now. But it's more important that you give to the place and to those causes and those things that expand you, right? that grow you from your heart, that will allow you to realize your potential and be and give all that you came here to be and give and to do. Okay?